The photographer called me and said he had noticed something very disturbing in the wedding photos. 1 month after my daughter's wedding, the photographer called me out of nowhere. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Mr. Reynolds, I noticed something terrible in the photos. I need you to come in. Alone. And please, don't mention anything to your daughter." Her words hit me like cold water. I had just set my coffee on the desk. Tuesday morning, quiet house, financial reports spread out in front of me. It was one of those rare peaceful moments I'd earned after 40 years building Reynolds Hardware, 3 stores across Phoenix, a good business, a stable life. I almost ignored the unknown number. But when I answered, her trembling voice pulled the air straight out of my office. "This is Carolyn Thornon. I photographed Jacqueline's wedding last month. I need to see you tomorrow. My studio. 9 a.m. Don't bring anyone." "What's wrong?" I asked. "I can't explain over the phone. But I found something. Something serious." Then she hung up. I sat there, frozen, staring at the photo on my office wall, Jacqueline in her wedding dress, radiant, Samuel smiling beside her. 1 month ago. $65,000 spent on that day. Worth every penny to see my eldest daughter happy. But now something was wrong. Very wrong. "Dad." Wendy's voice snapped through the kitchen. "I need that car. My Honda is embarrassing. Did you ask him yet?" Benjamin laughed from the living room, the television blasting behind him. Their world never paused, not even for a second. "I'll be there," I finally whispered into the phone. Carolyn exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for days. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Reynolds." When the call ended, I was still holding the phone to my ear, staring, thinking, trying to feel normal again. But the feeling didn't return. Wendy appeared in my doorway, impatient. 31 years old, living in my house for 4 years, temporarily, after her divorce. Benjamin moved in 6 months later. Neither of them had left. "Dad, I need a new car. Melissa got a Lexus. I can't show up in that junk anymore." "We'll discuss it later," I said. "Later?" She scoffed and stomped upstairs like a teenager. I tried returning to my numbers, but the words blurred. All I could hear was Carolyn's voice shaking through the phone. The wedding had been perfect, hadn't it? Around noon, Benjamin wandered into my office without knocking, as usual. "Hey, Pops. Wendy says you're being weird about the car. Just give her the money, keep the peace." I didn't bother looking up. "I'm working, Benjamin." "Sure. Just trying to help." "Happy wife, happy life, right?" He smirked, walking out. Happy wife. He wasn't even married to her. 4 years living under my roof, contributing nothing, and somehow he had advice for me. I walked to the window. The guest house I'd built for future grandchildren now housed 2 adults who refused to grow up. The day dragged. I ate leftover pasta at the counter while Benjamin watched my TV and Wendy's laughter echoed through the ceiling. At 7:30, the doorbell rang. Jacqueline stood there, polished, perfect. Tailored blazer, designer jeans, every detail in place. My successful one. Marketing executive. Samuel the investment banker. The golden couple. "Hi, Daddy," she said, kissing my cheek before settling on the couch. She looked around like she was evaluating the place. "You look tired. Long day." "Business things," I said. She picked up an old photo of her and Wendy as kids. Studied it. Set it down slightly off-center. "Samuel and I found a beautiful house in Scottsdale. 4 bedrooms, pool, mountain views. We need to move quickly. The market's competitive." Her tone softened. "We need help with the down payment. 40,000. 40,000. Is that a problem?" she asked, her smile tightening. "I need to review a few things first," I said. "Dad, this is important. Please don't take too long." She kissed my cheek again, but colder this time. "Love you. Call me soon." I watched her Mercedes disappear down the street. She never asked. She just assumed. They all assumed. Inside, Benjamin was laughing at my television, his beer sweating on my coffee table. And suddenly the house felt different. Or maybe I finally saw it for what it had become. The next morning, I left before Wendy woke up. I didn't want the interrogation, or Benjamin's disapproving smirk. The drive downtown took 25 minutes. Carolyn's studio was a converted warehouse in the Arts District, her name on a brass plate by the door. My hands were steady, but my mind churned the whole way. Something serious. Something in the photos. Inside, the studio smelled like coffee and printer ink. Wedding photos lined the walls. Carolyn looked younger than I remembered, mid-40s maybe, nervous, wringing her hands. "Mr. Reynolds, thank you for coming." She locked the door behind me. "I have everything set up." Her voice shook as she led me into the editing room. A large monitor glowed with open files. Morning light filtered through a dusty window. "Please understand," she said softly, "I didn't go looking for this." My throat tightened. "Just show me." She clicked a few keys. The monitor filled with images. Jacqueline walking down the aisle. Samuel waiting at the altar. Guests smiling. Everything beautiful. And then, what I saw next would explain everything. The hollow feeling. The money. The sudden request. The perfect wedding that wasn't perfect at all. "Everything's perfect. These are the standard shots," Carolyn said softly. "What you saw at the wedding, what everyone saw." She clicked to the next folder. 2 hours before the ceremony. I had arrived at the restaurant venue early, testing exposures, calibrating equipment. There's a terrace overlooking the courtyard. Another click. I had been shooting through a window, adjusting the light settings. The image appeared. My hands gripped the back of her chair. Samuel, my son-in-law, in his tuxedo not yet buttoned properly, pressed against a woman with red hair. Not my daughter. Kissing her. His hands tangled in her hair, her arms around his neck. It wasn't a friendly embrace. It wasn't a goodbye to an old friend. It was intimate, possessive, familiar. How long before the ceremony? My voice sounded distant. 2 hours, Carolyn replied. The metadata is here. Date, time, GPS coordinates. She pulled up a technical display. Numbers, timestamps, location data. I had been at the restaurant early, testing exposures through a window. I captured this by accident, but it was real. And there were multiple shots. She clicked forward. Different angles. Same scene. Samuel and the red-haired woman locked together. In one photo, the woman's hand was visible. Left hand pressed against Samuel's chest. A wedding ring, gold band, diamond. The woman. I leaned closer to the screen. The wedding ring. Do you know who she is? Carolyn shook her head. I don't recognize her from the guest list. I'm so sorry, Mr. Reynolds. She pulled up another image. Samuel's face was clear. No confusion, no drunken stumble. Just confidence, control. A man who knew exactly what he was doing. 2 hours before marrying my daughter. I straightened slowly. My knees felt weak. The room tilted slightly and then righted itself. Can you prove the timing? Absolutely. Prove it. Carolyn opened another window and showed me technical data I barely understood. Digital fingerprints, file information, GPS coordinates matching the restaurant location, timestamps down to the second. This is forensic-level evidence, Mr. Reynolds. It would hold up anywhere. She reached into her desk drawer and pulled out a small flash drive. Everything is here. All the photos, all the metadata, technical documentation. I made copies. She held it out to me. I don't know what you'll do with this, but I believe you should have it. I took the flash drive and closed my fist around it. Don't apologize. You did the right thing. The drive back to Paradise Valley passed in a blur. I gripped the steering wheel tight, staring at the road, but my mind was elsewhere entirely. Samuel Pfizer, investment banker, polished, articulate, successful, everything I'd wanted for my daughter, kissing another woman 2 hours before their wedding. A woman wearing a wedding ring. Not a mistake. Not cold feet. Calculated. Deliberate. Why marry Jacqueline at all? The question circled my thoughts like a vulture. Why go through with a $65,000 wedding to a woman you were betraying hours before the ceremony? Why make those vows? Why smile in those photos? What was the point? The truck seemed to know the way home without me thinking. Paradise Valley streets. My neighborhood. My driveway. The flash drive sat in my pocket, heavy as a stone. I pulled into my driveway just after 11. The house looked the same as when I'd left 2 hours ago. Same desert landscaping, same broken security light, same everything. But I wasn't the same. I opened the front door. Benjamin sprawled across my leather recliner, beer in hand, a game show blaring. He didn't look up. Hey old man. Grab me another beer while you're up. From upstairs, Wendy's voice. Dad, is that you? I need to talk to you about money for the spa this weekend. I stood in the entryway, flash drive in my pocket, and something inside me, something that had been bending for years, finally snapped. My daughter's husband cheating 2 hours before the wedding. My other daughter living in my house, demanding spa money. My son-in-law ordering me to bring him beer in my own home. I closed the door behind me with a quiet click. They thought I was the same man who'd left that morning. They were wrong. Sleep was impossible. I sat in my office past midnight, the flash drive from Carolyn on my desk. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those photographs. Samuel's face. Confident. Not guilty. Not confused. Confident. I opened my laptop and pulled up the wedding budget spreadsheet. $65,000. Venue, catering, photographer, flowers, band, everything I wanted, but she'd insisted on one thing specifically. Cash gifts. No registry. No toasters or china patterns. Dad, we're starting fresh. We need flexibility. Cash is more practical. I thought she was being mature, practical. Now I wondered what I had actually paid for. I grabbed a legal pad and began writing numbers, dates, details that suddenly seemed wrong. The guest list had been 200 people, mostly my business associates and friends who had known Jacqueline since childhood. Each envelope at the reception. I remembered the gift table overflowing. Jacqueline had hired someone specifically to collect, count, and catalog them. $45,000 in cash and checks. She told me the total the week after the wedding, laughing about their good fortune. Samuel and I are so blessed, Dad. Everyone was so generous. I wrote that number down, circled it. Then I remembered something else. My business partner, Marcus Chin, had handed Samuel a check directly at the reception. $15,000. Marcus was wealthy, generous to people he respected. Samuel had pocketed that check and smiled. Thank you, sir. We won't forget this. $60,000 total from one wedding for a couple supposedly starting out. Why marry Jacqueline at all? I stared at that question. If Samuel had another woman, a woman wearing a wedding ring, why go through with a $65,000 ceremony? Why smile in those photos? Why take those vows? Unless the vows didn't matter. Unless the money did. My stomach turned. The night dragged on. I made coffee around 3 a.m. and stood at my kitchen window watching the dark desert hills. Somewhere in Scottsdale, Jacqueline slept beside the man who'd betrayed her hours before their wedding. Or maybe she knew. Maybe she didn't care. That thought was worse than the first. At 7, I showered and dressed, business casual, khakis, polo shirt. Left the house before Wendy woke up. Didn't want questions. Didn't want to see Benjamin sprawled on my couch. The bank opened at 9. I drove to the downtown Phoenix branch where I did my business banking. Safe ground. Professional territory. Patricia Williams, the manager, greeted me. Mr. Reynolds, what brings you in this morning? I want to verify a check I wrote. Wedding gift for my daughter. $20,000. Want to make sure it cleared properly. Patricia pulled it up. Yes, here it is. Joint account for Samuel and Jacqueline Fisher. Joint account. I asked casually. When did they open that? Looks like May 10th. 2 months before the wedding. Two months. Not years. They had moved fast on wedding planning. This wasn't romance. This was logistics. Driving home through late morning traffic, my mind churned. The house looked quiet when I pulled into the garage. Benjamin's old Camry was there, the one he refused to maintain. I entered through the garage door to the kitchen, planning to go straight to my office. Then I heard Wendy's voice from upstairs. Yeah, Dad looks suspicious lately. Her voice carried down the second-floor landing. Phone conversation. Volume too loud. The way she always talked. By the time we file for divorce in 2 months, Dad will cave and buy us that condo just to get rid of us. I froze in the hallway. Jacqueline's voice came through the phone speaker, calm, strategic. Perfect. I've got 2 more months of playing happy wife. Half those gifts are legally mine in Arizona. Samuel already agreed to a 60-40th split. Easiest $45,000 I've ever made. My hand found the wall. Steadying myself. I almost let it happen. Almost written Jacqueline that $40,000 check for her house down payment. Almost. I sat at my computer and searched for a property lawyer in Phoenix, Arizona. Robert McKenzie's name appeared. 25 years experience, specializing in real estate law, family trusts, and asset protection. His office had an opening tomorrow morning at 9. I made the appointment. Tomorrow I would start taking my life back. Trust creation paperwork. Asset protection strategy. They thought this was just about the house. They had no idea I was protecting everything. My phone buzzed. A text from Jacqueline. Dad, Wendy called me. We need to talk. Coming over tomorrow with Samuel. This has gone too far. I read it twice. They were regrouping, coordinating, about to launch a counterattack. Let them come. I opened my calendar and marked the date, day 1 of 30. The clock had started. In the living room, Wendy was still crying. Benjamin paced back and forth, their footsteps echoing. 4 years. 4 years of living in my home without contributing a single dollar, treating it like a hotel. 4 years of demands, disrespect, and assumptions. Now they had 30 days left to enjoy that privilege. I glanced at Mackenzie's trust documents again. 2 to 3 weeks until finalization. Tight timing, but it would work. By the time they realized the full scope of what I'd done, it would be too late to stop. Another text from Jacqueline. We'll straighten this out. Don't worry. She wasn't texting me, she was texting Wendy. But a third message came through. Dad, I know you're upset about something. Let's talk like adults tomorrow. Talk like adults. The woman planning to divorce her husband in 2 months to steal wedding gifts wanted to talk like adults. I turned off my phone. Tomorrow they'd come with their performance. Concerned daughter, diplomatic son-in-law, reasoned arguments, emotional manipulation. I'd seen this documentary before. I knew how it ended. Outside my office door, the house finally went quiet. Wendy and Benjamin had probably gone upstairs to strategize, or cry, or drink. I didn't care which. I opened a notebook and began writing, documenting the evening. Their reactions, threats, Benjamin's aggression, Wendy's tears, everything Mackenzie might need if this ended up in court. My pen moved steadily across the page. Factual, detailed, dispassionate. Somewhere during their 4th year here, I'd stopped being a father and become an ATM. Now I was neither. I was a property owner exercising his legal rights, and I had 29 days to prepare for whatever came next. Saturday morning, I came downstairs to find Wendy in her bathrobe, sprawled across the couch. Dad, her voice weak, theatrical. I can't get up. My heart is racing. The stress from this eviction. I think you should call a doctor. Benjamin hovered nearby, arms crossed, protective, watching for my reaction. I walked past them to the kitchen. There's cold medicine in the cabinet, I said without stopping. Silence behind me, then Wendy's frustrated exhale. I poured coffee and carried it to my office, closing the door behind me. Sunday afternoon, Benjamin found me in the garage, blocking the doorway with his body. You know what people will say, right? His aggressive tone, faced too close. That you threw out your own daughter. Your pregnant daughter. Your business partners, your church friends, they'll all know what kind of man you really are. I checked my watch. The eviction is legal. You have 26 days left. Now move. You didn't? We stood for 10 seconds, 20. His jaw worked, fists clenched. Finally, he stepped aside. I got in my truck and drove to the hardware store, staying there for 3 hours, reviewing inventory, talking to managers, anywhere but home. When I returned that evening, an envelope sat on my kitchen counter. Handwritten heading, proposal. Benjamin's handwriting. Itemized list. Investment opportunity, craft brewery partnership. Initial capital required, $50,000. Terms. Wendy and Benjamin remain in residence, pay nominal rent, $500 a month, and repay the investment within 5 years. Desperation inflating the numbers. I read the full proposal. Financial projections pulled from nowhere, promises of returns, guarantees of family harmony. At the bottom, written in bold, this solves everything. We stay, you profit. Family stays together. I folded it and walked to the living room, handing it back. No. Wendy's face crumpled. Dad, we're trying to compromise. No, I repeated, returning to my office with my dinner. Through the wall, I heard their whispers, accusations, and the slam of dishes. Monday and Tuesday passed similarly. Wendy alternated between tears and silence. Benjamin oscillated between threats and bargaining. I maintained my routine. Work, home, office, meals alone. Their presence became background noise. Wednesday evening, Jacqueline arrived with Samuel. She called that afternoon. Dad, we're coming over for dinner. Samuel and I. We need to talk as a family. Not a request, an announcement. They arrived at 6. Jacqueline carried grocery bags. We're cooking tonight. You worked too hard. Samuel smiled, firm handshake. Hope you don't mind us just showing up. They took over my kitchen. Jacqueline chopped vegetables. Samuel set the table. Wendy emerged from upstairs, makeup perfect, no sign of illness. Benjamin appeared, freshly showered, playing the reasonable adult. This was an intervention carefully staged. We sat for the meal they had prepared, chicken, rice, salad. Nicely presented. Everyone performed normalcy. Then Jacqueline shifted gears. Dad, this house must be a lot to manage alone. All these rooms, the yard work, the maintenance. Have you thought about something smaller? A nice condo? I cut my chicken, chewing slowly. Samuel picked up the thread. The real estate market is strong. Houses in Paradise Valley sell fast. You could get top dollar. Help set everyone up comfortably. There it was, the subtle manipulation. Help Wendy and Ben get started. Help Samuel and me with our house down payment. Everyone benefits. Now the realization clicked. They didn't want my house for themselves someday, they wanted the money now. Dad, I'm just saying you're getting older. Wouldn't it be easier to have something manageable? Less responsibility? I set down my fork and looked at each of them. Jacqueline, Samuel, Wendy, Benjamin. 4 faces, 4 masks, 1 agenda. I'm not selling my house. Jacqueline laughed lightly, edge beneath it. Dad, no one's pressuring you. We're just concerned. I stood. Thank you for your concern. I'm fine. Good night. Chair scraped, footsteps to the office, door closing. Silence, then urgent whispers. I grabbed my phone and dialed Mackenzie. I need to see you tonight. It's urgent. He agreed. I waited until their cars left. Jacqueline's Mercedes, then Benjamin's Camry following, coordinating, planning their next move. I drove downtown. Mackenzie's office was lit, 23rd floor window glowing. He met me in the lobby. They're coordinating a strategy to acquire my assets, I said. The eviction had triggered something. Now they wanted me to sell the house, split the proceeds. Tonight's dinner was reconnaissance. In his office, Mackenzie pulled out fresh documents. Then we accelerate the trust creation. Everything, house, business, savings, transferred to professional management. You maintain full control during your lifetime. After death, distribution follows your instructions. They can't challenge it. They can't manipulate it. How fast can we move? I'll start the paperwork tomorrow. We'll also change your bank account beneficiaries immediately. Remove your daughters entirely. Trust creation fees, $5,000, but it's worth every penny. I signed everything. Electronic signatures legally witnessed. 40 minutes later, I left with copies of every document. The drive home felt lighter, almost free. The house was dark except for the living room lamp. Wendy and Benjamin had probably spent the evening plotting on speakerphone. Let them plot. I had copies of the trust paperwork in my briefcase. Mackenzie would start asset transfers tomorrow. Within 3 weeks, everything I'd built would be protected. 3 missed calls from Jacqueline, no messages. She knew something had shifted tonight. They had miscalculated. Thought I was a weak old man who could be manipulated into surrendering my life's work. I was done being weak. 26 days until Wendy and Benjamin left. 3 weeks until the trust was finalized. They had that long to feel like they still had leverage. I had that long to make sure they'd never manipulate me again. 2 weeks after serving the eviction notice, I set the dining room table myself. 5 place settings, the good china I hadn't used since my daughters were children. At my seat, a manila folder lay face down. 8 printed photographs inside, Samuel and a red-haired woman, time-stamped and geotagged. 2 hours before his wedding to my daughter. I'd invited everyone, both daughters, both sons-in-law. A family dinner. They arrived separately, Jacqueline and Samuel first, 15 minutes early. I heard whispered conversations with Wendy and Benjamin, coordinating their approach. I called them to the table. Tension hit immediately. We ate in near silence, forks scraping plates, water glasses clinking, forced normalcy. Then I spoke. Before we continue, there's something you should see. I placed the manila folder in front of Jacqueline. Suspicious, she picked it up. What is this? Photographs from your wedding. Particularly interesting are the shots of Samuel with a red-haired woman 2 hours before the ceremony, on the restaurant terrace. Samuel's face drained. Jacqueline opened the folder. Her eyes scanned the first image, then the second. Her expression hardened into stone. Where did you get these? I ignored the question. I'd also overheard a phone conversation between Jacqueline and Wendy. 2 more months and I file for divorce. Half the gifts are legally mine. Samuel already agreed to 60/40th split. Those were your exact words, Jacqueline. Wendy's hand flew to her mouth. Benjamin half stood. You spied on us. You had no right. I raised a hand. Stop. Benjamin, sit. I've created an irrevocable trust. My house, my business, my savings, everything is now protected. After my death, you'll receive the minimum required by Arizona law, not a cent more. Jacqueline's voice rose. You can't do this. We're your family. I stood, pushed my chair back, folded my napkin. Wendy and Benjamin have 15 days to find new housing. This conversation is over. Jacqueline stood. You're destroying this family. I paused at the dining room doorway. Didn't turn around. I'm not destroying anything. I'm protecting what I built from people who saw me as a resource, not a father. I walked to my office, closed the door, locked it. Behind me, voices erupted. Jacqueline shouting, Samuel protesting, Wendy crying, Benjamin cursing. I opened my laptop. Email from Mackenzie, trust documents ready for final signature. I typed back, 9 a.m. From the dining room, the argument continued. Empty threats. Wendy sobs. It wouldn't change anything. The photos were on the table. The truth was spoken. The trust nearly complete. 15 days until Wendy and Benjamin left my house. However long it took for Jacqueline and Samuel's fraudulent marriage to collapse on its own, I had spent 2 weeks watching them manipulate, scheme, and play. Now they knew I'd been watching back, and I'd already won. Mackenzie's office at 9 the next morning. Jennifer Chan, estate planning specialist, ready to finalize the trust. 50 professional, efficient papers spread across the table like a legal fortress. Page after page, initials here, signatures there. My house, business interests, bank accounts, investments, everything moved into the irrevocable trust. Upon your death, distribution follows these instructions. Minimum legal requirement to immediate family. Remainder to charities. Your daughters can try to challenge it, but irrecoverable trusts are extremely difficult to overturn. This is as protected as assets can be. I signed the final page. Done. 40 years of work. Protected. I drove home feeling lighter than I had in months. The next 13 days became a masterclass in psychological warfare. Broken coffee maker, whispered conversations across the fence, staged interventions. All harmless distractions. By day 12, Wendy even knocked on my office door, alone, teary-eyed. Dad, can we talk? Just us. I gestured to the chair. She sat, tissue in hand, eyes red. I've been thinking about everything. And for the first time in years, I listened from a place of control, not fear. You were right about Ben, about how we've been living. He's not a good influence on me. I see that now. I waited. Her voice trembled, her posture leaned forward, vulnerable. I've made terrible mistakes. I'm asking, begging, for your forgiveness. Another chance. I can change. I can be the daughter you deserve. The performance was flawless. Every manipulation technique she knew laid bare. I let the silence stretch, watching her. Really watching. If you had truly realized your mistakes, Wendy, you wouldn't have come asking for forgiveness as a transaction. You wouldn't have come expecting anything in return. But here you were, asking for the house, for money, for me to change my mind about the trust. No. You wanted me to believe Benjamin corrupted you, that you were a victim. But I'd heard your phone call with Jacqueline, plotting and laughing about manipulating me. Her face changed. Tears vanished. Her voice hardened. Fine. Fine. You want to be alone? Be alone. But don't expect us to care what happens to you. I didn't react. I didn't stand. 8 days, Wendy. Start packing. She turned and left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. Through the ceiling I heard stomping upstairs. Benjamin's voice questioned, then Wendy's angry response. Muffled words, but the tone was clear. Reality was finally breaking through. They hadn't prepared for this. They needed to find an apartment. I pulled up my calendar. 8 days until the eviction deadline. Mackenzie had already arranged for the sheriff if they refused to leave voluntarily. A text from Jacqueline blinked on my phone. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed this family. I deleted it without a word. The trust documents sat in my desk drawer. Signed, notarized, filed. Every asset I'd spent 40 years building, protected. The house was mine. The business was secure. My will reflected my choices, not their expectations. 8 more days of their presence. 8 more days of psychological warfare. I no longer felt. And then, silence. Space. Peace. For the first time in 4 years I had my house back. For the first time in months I had my life back. The 30th day arrived. I pulled into my driveway at 10 a.m. The sheriff's vehicle arrived 30 seconds later. Mackenzie followed. Everything coordinated. Official, legal, no room for argument. Deputy Martinez stepped out, mid-40s, professional, calm. Mr. Reynolds. Let's get this done. Mackenzie joined us, briefcase in hand. Everything's in order. Eviction notice properly served. 30 days elapsed. They're officially trespassing. We walked to my front door. I knocked 3 firm times. Silence. Then Benjamin's muffled voice. Go away. You can't do this. Martinez stepped forward, hand resting on his duty belt. Sir, this is Deputy Martinez, Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. I'm enforcing a legal eviction. Open the door now or I'll be forced to open it myself. That becomes criminal trespass. Your choice. Whispered arguing inside. Finally the door cracked open. Wendy's face appeared, Red eyes, defiant, masking panic. Martinez pushed the door wider, professionalism unshaken. I and Mackenzie followed. The living room looked like a war zone. Clothes scattered, pizza boxes stacked, beer cans everywhere. But no packed boxes, no plans to leave. Not planning on leaving, are you? Martinez said calmly, surveying the chaos. You have 2 hours to collect personal belongings. Clothes, personal items, no furniture, no fixtures. Clock starts now. Wendy's voice pitched high. 2 hours? We can't possibly. You've had 30 days, ma'am. 2 hours is generous. Benjamin appeared from the kitchen, unshaven and angry. This is insane. We have rights. Mackenzie's voice cut through. You have 0 rights to this property. No lease. No rental agreement. No ownership. This is the final day. Benjamin looked at me. You're really doing this? Your own daughter. I didn't respond. Didn't need to. Chaos followed in slow motion. Wendy stuffing clothes into garbage bags, crying intermittently. Benjamin throwing items into a duffel bag, muttering curses. Every manipulation tactic they'd once relied on, nullified. I stood in the doorway, calm, watching, letting them dismantle their unauthorized residency piece by piece. 2 hours later, the last bags were loaded into their car, a dented, older sedan. Wendy turned for one final attempt. You'll regret this. When you're alone and need help, don't come crying to us. I met her eyes, calm, certain. I won't. They drove away. Wendy's car disappeared down the street, taking with it their presence, their demands, their manipulation. I stood in my doorway, my house truly mine, for the first time in 4 years. Martinez handed me the paperwork. They're officially out. If they return without permission, call immediately. Criminal trespass. Mackenzie shook my hand. Well done, Horace. Most people cave before this point. You held the line. I walked through the house slowly. Living room where Benjamin had sprawled, kitchen where Wendy had demanded money, upstairs guest room they'd occupied like royalty. Empty. Mine. That evening my phone rang. Jacqueline. I considered ignoring it, but curiosity won. Yes. I hope you're satisfied. You destroyed this family. Everything we had. Was it worth it? I looked at a family photo on the shelf. Old picture, different time, different people. I didn't destroy the family, Jacqueline. I stopped letting it destroy me. Silence. Then her voice cracked. You've changed. I don't even know who you are anymore. I'm the same person. I just stopped pretending I didn't notice being used. We'll see how long you last alone. You'll need us eventually. She hung up. 3 days later, an unknown number texted. Samuel. Horace, I saw the photos. Jackie knew about my relationship too. The marriage was an arrangement. We're divorcing anyway. I'm asking you to stay out of it. I can make it worth your while. $10,000 to let this play out quietly. I read it once, deleted it, blocked the number. The entire marriage had been a scam. They had orchestrated it together, collected money, planned to split it, and now Samuel wanted to bribe me to stay silent. $10,000. I looked around my living room, the furniture I'd chosen, the silence I'd earned, the space I'd reclaimed. 4 years ago, I'd opened my door to Wendy and Benjamin temporarily. They'd taken over my home, my peace, my life. I'd paid for a wedding that was a business transaction. Believed I was helping family while funding my own exploitation. Now the house was empty except for me. Wendy and Benjamin gone. Jacqueline had cut contact. Samuel's desperate bribe unanswered. I walked to the window. The sun set over Paradise Valley, painting the desert gold. My house, my life, my choices. They had thought they'd won, but they were wrong. I sat on my terrace with morning coffee. The air was warm, the breeze gentle. Quiet. Completely quiet, except for birds and the distant hum of the city. 3 weeks since the eviction. 3 weeks living alone in my home. My actual home. My peace. The coffee maker worked. Television remote stayed where I left it. Food in the fridge was mine, eaten at my pace. Simple things. Revolutionary things. Wendy called twice that week. I let both go to voicemail, deleted the messages. She and Benjamin found a cheap apartment. Benjamin working a regular job. Figuring it out, without my money, without my house. Good. Jacqueline called once asking for a down payment, $20,000. You're my father. One word from me, no, then hung up. No explanation. No guilt. Just a boundary. They got what they deserved. The court handled the fraudulent marriage and wedding gift schemes. I returned to my life. Coffee, guitar lessons, volunteering, inspections. Peace. Routine. Autonomy. A week later, Carolyn Thornton, the photographer who had shown me the truth, called. I hope you don't mind. I've thought about that day in your studio so many times. I hope I did the right thing. You did. Absolutely. Those photos gave me the truth when everyone else fed me lies. Things are good now, Carolyn. Truly good. You deserve peace. Would you like to get coffee sometime? I'd like to thank you properly. I'd like that. Next week? Perfect. I stayed on the terrace looking over Paradise Valley. Coffee next week with someone who wanted nothing from me. Guitar lessons. Volunteer work. Repairs for those who appreciated it. A life built around my choices. The trust document sat on my desk. Every asset protected, every decision mine. I stood at the railing looking over my home, my view, my peace. Alone but free. And for the first time in years, maybe ever, that was exactly what I wanted. Justice wasn't revenge. It was protection. Boundaries. Saying no when no was the only sane answer. I had saved myself, and that was worth everything. If you enjoyed this story, like this video, subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. To hear the next story, click the box on the left. Thank you for watching.